So, thank you very much for this interview. We'll go straight to the questions, and we'll start with the host, with the French ambassador. So, we know France and Germany were promoting the deepening of the European Union since the beginning. After the enlargements, we had the new member states and some different opinions. In this view, what is the purpose of the rejuvenation, let's say this, of the Élysée Treaty?
Yes, hello everyone. Well, first I must recall the fact that we are here to celebrate an anniversary, the 60th anniversary, which is obviously a very important moment for us, for Dr. Ernst Reichel and for me. I think we have to remember everything that happened in 1963. We have to remember where we come from. And by that time, the gesture that was undertaken by General de Gaulle and Konrad Adenauer was very, very bold, in the sense that we all remember where we come from. We all remember the tragedies of the 20th century. And this is why the fact that they decided that there was no fatality for war, and the fact that we could produce a great agreement between our countries, a reconciliation between our two people, was something very, very, very bold and very effective at the same time. So this is the essence of the Traité de l'Élysée that was signed. And at the same time, that was an excellent basis for the construction of Europe, and this is where we are today. And in this sense, I would say that I would invite all the European people to join this anniversary, because peace and prosperity was obviously based on this Élysée Treaty.
So what's the focus today?
The focus today, there are so many focuses, in the sense that we have to face many, many challenges that we know that are on the table in Brussels. It obviously starts with defense and security. We have to face many international challenges. We have to affirm our European sovereignty. And obviously, we have to foster our transition to new economy, green economy, because one of the major challenges we have today is the climate change and all the endeavors we have to make to adapt to these new realities.
So, Ambassador, what is the German point of view concerning the refocusing on the Élysée Treaty in today's context?
Well, I think, first of all, I also have to agree that Franco-German reconciliation after the horrors of World War II has been a political fact that has fundamentally changed the landscape of Europe, and for the better, for the benefit of all of Europe. And this alone is worth celebrating, and the Élysée Treaty symbolizes this historical achievement. Now today, just 3 years ago, we rejuvenated, updated the Élysée Treaty with the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle, Aachen, and I believe also today France and Germany, not only geographically, if you like, but also by their size and importance, lie at the center of Europe and the European Union, and it's maybe not overconfident to say that the togetherness, so to speak, of France and Germany is an important precondition for Europe's success as a whole.
So, as you say, Germany and France were always the motors of European unification. And some say that Germany is the economic engine, mainly, and France is the political engine. So, in your opinion, how did this relationship develop during the last 10 or 15 years, during the crisis particularly, and what are the prospects for now on?
Well, I think your description of the roles played in Europe is maybe somewhat an oversimplification. Whether France or Germany is the driver of an initiative in the EU depends on the subject matter. I'll give you an example. On enlargement, in particular in the Western Balkans, Germany was the more pushy side and France was less and so it depends a little bit. And one should also consider now, for the case of Germany, that there are areas where partners demand leadership from Germany, whereas there are other areas where partners express concern about German domination. So it is not easy for Germany to navigate. And the last point I would make is, yes, certainly, while France has a political system that favors a concentration of power in one person, the president, whereas Germany has a political culture and system that, for good historical reason, has a political culture that favors consensus building and checks and balances. And that, of course, influences the speed and the boldness of political initiatives. Boldness is a political category in France which has a positive connotation, while in Germany no German political leader would call himself audacieux, bold.
It's a virtue in France.
It's a virtue in France, but not in Germany, no.
So do you agree? What's your point of view on this matter?
As Ernst said, I think we should avoid caricatures, France with politics and Germany with the economy. The truth is that if you consider the recent history of Europe and the European construction, the truth is that when you consider the euro, the creation of the eurozone, if you consider the role of the central bank, if you consider what has been done recently in order to take into account the economic consequences of the pandemics, for example, all these major progress stands within the field of economy, but at the same time that required political impetus. So at the end of the day, I consider that France and Germany with different perspectives maybe, but at the end of the day, this is an incubator of major political initiatives, and political initiatives, as I said, have something to do with economy. So we need each other, basically. And again, the very essence of the Traité de l'Élysée is precisely to create the incubator to mix the political and the economic aspects that we need in order to make the European Union a space for prosperity. And again, the major achievements have to do with economy and politics, and so we need each other, and I would say more than ever.
So, but developing on what the German ambassador said, that there are some domains where Germany has the lead or the initiative, and others that it's easier than France. Could you make a list of the things that are more prone to French initiative or the German, or?
No, precisely this is not what I would do. I mean, we know that the European Union has to face major challenges in the future, and obviously these initiatives will require politics and economy. So again, I think we have to avoid caricatures. Again, we need each other for the European construction and the European sovereignty to expand.
So you don't like this characterization, political, economical, but there is another, let's say, not division. There is a discussion about North and South in Europe. And Germany is considered sometimes closely to the north point of view, to the northern point of view, and France to the southern point of view. On the other hand, we see that when Germany and France agree, then we can have giant leaps in the European project. We saw that in the past with the European Economic Union. We saw that with the RRF, the Recovery and Resilience Fund. So in view of this optic, what do you think will be the easiest issues on which Germany and France can agree and advance the European project?
Well, there are quite a few areas where France and Germany see eye to eye. If, for instance, climate change, for instance, the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, COVID with the immediate fight against COVID, and the addressing the economic consequences of COVID has been a major success story for the European Union because France and Germany ultimately came up with a joint initiative. Migration is of course also important, but in migration I don't think we have so much a north-south divide than an east-west divide. And we together need to convince our Central and Eastern European partners to participate in burden sharing.
And at your point of view, what are the issues that can advance?
Well, here again, I consider that we should avoid caricatures in the sense that, for example, Germany would have the leadership for Northern Europe and France for Southern Europe. The reality is that we have in front of us, ahead of us, we have challenges, and those challenges are common challenges for Europe, in the sense that, as Ernst said, economic competition, green transition, security and defense, European sovereignty, etc., etc. This is a common goal, and in this respect, again, let's avoid caricatures. You know, there are the European Union is one and single, and this is precisely, I think, the added value that France and Germany create for all the Europeans. You know, we have different geographic locations. Obviously, we have different histories, but at the end of the day, we have to face common challenges, and we have to do it in a very coordinated manner. And in this sense, again, we need each other in the past, in the present time, and for the future.
So you agree both that today we have the conditions that are necessary for agreements that will advance the European project. Is that right?
Well, the European project hinges not only on France and Germany, as important as France and Germany are. We have become larger and more important as in Europe as a whole, but that also implies that we have more players in the European Union, and that creating the necessary consensus or agreement in the European Union becomes, at least in tendency, more difficult. I'm not completely sure that we are standing ahead of major leaps in the way the European Union grows closer and closer, as the treaties say. But like I said, also we have performed quite well, if you consider it. We have performed quite well in the face of immediate crisis and lived up to the challenges that lie ahead of us. And I think that's a good basis for us to continue in this way also in the future.
And the truth is that we assume our differences. It is obvious that our vision of the world has some differences. And it's absolutely normal, I would say. And the French-German dialogue relationship has never been easy, as you all know. But this is part of the game, I would say. The truth is that we consider the French-German relationship as a discipline. And I mean, in the sense, I mean that it's never easy. We have to discuss a lot. We have to try to erase our differences. We have to reach compromises. This is a discipline, and maybe it's a bit more than a discipline. It's what we can call the very nature of the leadership.
You agree with this point of view?
Yes, I do. We too are a good example of Franco-German cooperation.
Okay, so thank you very much for this interview and for this example of European cooperation. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Merci.